Hey, Ted here. We're going down to work on a buddy's boat. He's got a 90 horse Yamaha, an old, I think 2003. Not that old, but no fire and 2 cylinders. So, diagnose the switch box. I check the stator windings, they check out. I check the trigger windings, they check out. Done coil change, one cylinder to the other. Nothing changed. Changed the spark plug. Nothing changed. So we're down to this switch box. So we're gonna change this, and there's a lever here. Pretty straightforward. When it's in idle, there's a mark on it. So you just hook it back up and make sure this is adjusted so the mark is at the idle mark. And we're just gonna, I gotta cut a tie wrap and take all the connectors out and unbolt it, and then we'll put it back on and fire it up and see how it looks. Now we've got the switch box pretty much out, and I wanted to go over a couple things. It's painful at best. So there are 3 harness plugs here that you have to snake out of there. They're all plugged into connections, which you'll find. But the idea is they go underneath this bracket, and they got to come out the back side. So what you're going to need to do is take this bolt out. There's another one down here in the back. You can see kind of where my finger is. You have to reach in there with a 10mm wrench and loosen that up several turns. You're going to loosen the top one up, and that allows you to wiggle this bracket. And once you get them loose enough, you can pull it up enough and you can snake those around, because getting that bolt back there would be a nightmare under the cowl. Now there's one more wire which the switch box is hanging from. That's the ground wire, and that ground wire comes up through this block here and it goes to this ground block here. So while you're there, take those grounds off, clean them up, make sure they're in good shape before you put them back on, because that can be a notorious problem. You can see some corrosion on that bolt. Just getting into the connections here and the last 3 bolts to tie it on. And I just wanted to point out one more thing you might run into, and that is a little attention to detail. So when you're looking at the the control box, and I'll switch now, and you can see it looks like it's ready to bolt on and everything, and I don't have it quite bolted on there. And the reason for that is because I want to make sure on these edges here I don't have any wires that are going to get caught. And if I look back there, there's a couple of wires that are under the switch box still. So I need to take a screwdriver, take a handy dandy snap-on screwdriver, and make sure those wires aren't under that switch box, okay? And then hold them there while I just snug up this bolt right here. And then I'll do one more visual. So never tighten the bolts down, just bring them down barely till they're barely snug, and then look around all the way around to make sure you're not trapping any wires, because I've caught wires under there before and they chafe through and then something else happens. So just a word to the warning, don't tighten everything down until you make sure there's nothing stuck under there. There's also a small a little bracket, little arm piece that holds these wires at bay, and that's important because we want to make sure they get away from the shift linkage here. I've also got the clips here. I've got to clip these wires in the harness, and that will keep them away from the shift actuator. So that's another important aspect, to make sure that you don't have anything that's going to get rubbed from the shift actuator when it's all put back together. A couple tie wraps here, snug a few bolts up, and we're going to fire it up.